that we wait and let it go. That was what Melissa asked.
Oh,
'Cause
like
we
at
had-
the beginning.
Yeah, at the beginning, because the drag takes a minute and we've already started, then it catches up kind of thing, apparently.
Okay. Okay.
So that was good feedback.
I'm not getting very good reception. Like,
see
oh,
you
it's okay now.
fine. We see you fine.
Right, but Sean was frozen there for a moment, and his voice was, like as if I wasn't getting the. Anyway, it'll be all right. I'm in the office.
If everybody is ready, I'll call
Ready.
the council meeting of May 4th to order. And first is the approval of the agenda.
Move approval. Oh,
Councillor Sproul, Councillor Kettler, all in favor? Carried. Next, recommend that council receive the implications of using taxes for growth for reductions report. Councillor Brown, Councillor Sproul, sorry, all in favor? Carried. Michelle?
Okay, hi there. Okay, so the purpose of this report is to provide council with information regarding the implications of using your taxes from growth to reduce your tax rates. And this is based on direction provided at the April 27th meeting. So basically, I just want to point out one change though from your April 27th meeting is that the school tax and police tax rates came in between April 27th and the time of writing this report. So you have some different tax rate information in this report because of those changes. So I had used, I did have your class 4 to class 8, all of those classes, I did have rates available to me for school, but for police, I didn't have any rates available to me. And for school, I didn't have class 1 or class 2 available. So I estimated a 10% increase, which should have been enough. That's quite an increase, but it wasn't. So it actually increased by about 14.5%. So that changes things a little bit. So based on the direction that of what I understood was given at the April 27th meeting, I analyzed and provided for you 6 scenarios of how to reduce your taxes if you wish to do so. And it's outlined on page 4. I've listed the scenarios. Basically, it just talks about either reducing by 59,000 or 107,000. And then there's some different scenarios within that, only reducing class 1, only reducing class 6, and only reducing class 1 and 6. So hopefully that is enough for you at this stage. Then I follow with a table that has just given you the tax rates for municipal purposes under those different scenarios. And also based on a further request for information this morning, you'll see the on table document that actually gives you all of the tax rates under scenario 1 and scenario 4 of what those would be. And that all the tax rates, including all of your taxing authorities that would be charging taxes on to the residents as well. Okay, so I also provide you with a chart on page 5 that helps you understand what the increases under the different scenarios would be for a single family average household and a strata unit average household. And then basically my report goes on to sort of try to explain those increases to you a little bit and what they would mean. And then also to give you a part that tells you your actual total 2020 charges under the highest scenario and the lowest scenario for these classes. And so if you have any questions about that, I can also clarify for you on that. And then also my report talks to you about the implications of using your emergency and public safety reserve for this reason and how it impacts your future tax increases. So basically, if you stay within the approved financial plan, the way it is right now with 47,000 extra being contributed to the growth or to the reserve, you're going to be contributing $336,670. And then it changes based on the different scenarios. But really, I just want to clarify though, your impact to not contributing your growth taxes to this reserve doesn't necessarily really impact the reserve balance, because it's going to be quite sufficient by the time we hit 5,000 population. It's really about the tax revenue. The reason why we're contributing to this reserve is to build your tax revenue up until you get to that 5,000 population, and then you'll have that taxes taken out and already at the level that they need to be in. So you shouldn't have to increase taxes too much more after that, except for, slowly with using reserve funds. The impact though is really to the future tax revenue. So if you don't change anything to your 2021 to 2024 financial years, then what you've included in your approved financial plan, if you come to next year and you make no changes, you're asking for about just over 5% increase each year. And so when you base it on a percentage increase and you reduce the base year, which is 2020, that increase is going to go up in future years. So perception wise, you're not actually going to increase the dollar amount that's needed. You're just, perception wise, you're actually, it's going to be a little bit higher because of the percentage. And then, so then I just give you a few alternatives that you can keep. And I think, did I say? Yeah, I think I do say that you really don't have to do anything at all. And I would just come back with your tax rates based on your April 27th meeting. But if you do want to change it, then you would direct me at this meeting. And I think that's it. And if you have any questions, I can answer those for you.
Any questions, Councillor Spruill? There you are.
I read that. Yeah, thanks for the extensive analysis here. This was quite the number of charts. What happens with that money, which is for emergency public safety, if we were to put all the increases due to growth in there, could they also be used for other kind of emergencies? Like what, is it just about the cost for the policing, or could this be used in an emergency if things really go sideways after the COVID business is over?
Yeah, through the mayor. That's actually why council established this reserve and called it emergency and public safety reserve, is because any of the funds in there can be used for the policing, of course, because that's part of that purpose. But you could use it for other protective services, fire, public emergency type expenses as well. And then council always has the option to, by bylaw, approve reallocating those funds anyway at some later date for a different use.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Councillor Brown?
So by my math, the reduction, if we put the 59,000 into residential, is about $37.50 per household. And if we put the whole 107 and change, it's just under $68 per household. Is that Did I do that math right, Michelle?
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, you threw the mayor. Yes, you did. Yeah.
Councillor Kettler?
Thanks, Mayor.
Hmm.
Well, I'm really in support of reserves in general and the principle of reserves. We didn't even have reserves before our last term. So everybody on council then was in unanimous support for establishing the multiple reserve funds that we did establish at that time. This particular one, the emergency funds, as we've said, is for the policing costs that we will incur once we reach 5,000 population. And we put that into place because we didn't want our citizens to have a huge hit when that occurred. But it would seem that they are undergoing a huge hit now because of COVID, and that even if it's $50 or $70 worth of money, that I think that it is worth doing, because all the things that we're asking add up, with property taxes and with utilities and all the other things that they're going to have to be paying, insurance and childcare costs, all the other things that every family will have to pay during this time. And our CIO has already stated that is not going to make much difference by the time we actually do reach that population. We should have that money in place because we'll have so many other years of contributing to it. I think that it's worth contributing to now to help reduce the burden on our citizens now. Thanks.
Okay. Councillor Sproul? Councillor Brown?
I have a few concerns about giving the monies from new taxes, new growth, back to any of the class. It either has to be all the classes, like light industrial would probably want some help too. But choosing one class or two classes to assist could be construed as unfair to others. So I think it's all or. But personally, given that the unknown situations that we're in and going to be facing, either getting over the COVID virus or any other emergency that could come after that, I would feel better if we had more money in the Emergency and Public Safety Reserve, knowing that it can be moved to other uses that could be called emergencies. And I'd say that we're just living in times, we don't know if everybody's going to be able to pay their taxes. What if, unlikely, next year, taxes, a lot of people will either have to walk away from their houses, or I don't know. We don't know. And I would feel better keeping this money. To me, it doesn't seem like a lot of money back for the average residential, maybe 20, maybe 30, maybe 40. And I did hear 60 with one of these alternatives here. But I think that the village needs to look after the village and to put the money in reserve, which would be, oh, you did? Sorry. Oh, okay. All right. Well, I just feel we should keep it and use it rather than asking for people for money later.
Okay. Councillor Brown?
That's it.
Yeah, I agree. I think if to do something like this, we would need to have a pretty solid argument of benefit and who it would benefit. And I think we would want to ensure that we are doing that in a socially progressive way. And from what I can see, this would benefit the people it would benefit most are people with multiple properties, because that would make more of an impact if you're carrying several properties. And reducing a $3,000 tax bill by under $40 just doesn't seem like a good value, when we don't, as Councillor Sproul said, we don't really know what the impact long-term of COVID is going to be on our village, on our taxpayers. And I think they're probably in a better position to pay this year, hoping that that's been pre-planned for some time, and that next year could be worse if layoffs and stuff don't return to normal in the next short while. Yeah, I just think it's not actually going to help the people who are suffering the most in the village, who are service industry workers and entertainment and arts and culture workers who probably don't own their own homes. And even if landlords passed on that savings of $37.50 on a one-term rental payment of whatever, upwards of probably $1,000 is not also going to make much difference. And we could instead use that money to run projects, to enhance economic recovery, to start a project that would enhance the social recovery, or put it towards trail maintenance, or building a park, or a community garden, or so many other things to make an impact for the people who are actually suffering the most at this time.
Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Mayor.
Your mic's gone back on.
Muted again.
Weird. Okay. Thanks. Thank you, Mayor. I'm just going to echo what Councillor Brown and Councillor Sproul said. I think it was Councillor Brown who mentioned last time we talked about this, that property taxes are built into people's mortgages. I totally agree that I think this year especially people are ready for this. I definitely think that $5 a month is not going to help anybody. I think that it is definitely smarter for us to save the money for a rainy day. And just what Councillor Brown, she listed off a list of all viable options. And then still, if something happens with COVID and we find ourselves in a position where we need some emergency money, then we have this money. I mean, we've already had some more problems with the Zoom today. So I imagine at some point we're just really gonna have to buck up and upgrade the village system for the internet, probably sooner than later. So that's gonna be $15,000 or $20,000 price tag, money that we don't have a budget for, that I think. So yeah, I don't really support changing anything. Personally, I think if anything, I'd go for the alternative number 4, but even still, yeah, I don't know. I agree with also splitting it up into class 1 or class 6 definitely shows favoritism, and I don't feel that we make enough of a dent to make it worth doing any of that stuff. So that's where I'm at.
Councillor Kettler.
Yeah, just to address a few of the issues that have been brought up, I think that it's not showing favoritism. You know, the business class has already received a tax cut in the form of the 50% reduction in school taxes. The residential class don't get that. In fact, they haven't had any reduction in property tax, and in Cumberland specifically, they have had a huge increase in tax assessment, which will result in a huge increase to their residential taxes. And they haven't gotten any reduction in that from upper levels of government. So they have the option of deferral, but that doesn't reduce the amount of tax that they have to pay. So the residential class is at a disadvantage already. So that's why I'm suggesting that we help with that specifically. And this is not business as usual. You know, I would agree with putting money toward all those community benefits that Councillor Brown described in a normal situation, but this is not that normal situation. We are going to have to, in our strategic planning that's coming up, look very seriously at what needs to be cut, just like every other municipality is doing. We can't just hold the line because that's what we would want to do. You know, we need to look at where we need to make cuts. And you know, with the fire hall, which is $4.2 million of debt that we were taking on, it's a very difficult time for us. And you know, I didn't support getting into that debt to begin with, but now that we're in it, like I said then when we were getting into it, that it's going to hamper our ability to do a lot of the things that we want to do. So that will be the case moving forward, absolutely. And if you don't want to use this funds to lower the tax rate right now for families, that's, you know, obviously your choice, but we're going to have to make hard choices coming up very quickly when we do our strategic planning. Thanks.
Councillor Brown, and then I'll say something. Councillor Brown.
Yeah, I think that just points to the absolute need to keep property taxes coming in, because we are going to have to look at what we need to cut. And so the more money we have to work with, the better. The fact that assessments increased so much also means that people who own homes have increased equity in their homes, and that's a cushion in times like this for homeowners to use that equity to deal with emergency situations like this. So I think that's another argument in favor of not putting this towards lowering taxes.
I think the pandemic and what we've gone through has been a huge learning curve for a lot of people. And I think it's set us up to deal with it in the next phase. And I think in the next phase, you won't see so many impacts on the individuals because we're continuing to learn. But I'm also hearing that we're probably going to be in it for longer periods of time. So, but when you only think that this has been 2 months, over time, that is not a long time to be in the position we are in. I've also talked to numerous residents about the taxes, and I never heard one person say decrease the taxes by $25 or $48. They didn't agree with it. They are set for this year. They put it into their role and they knew it was coming. Yes, there's a lot of impacts on individuals, but there's also a lot of funding available out there to people. So my understanding is we've done very well in collecting utilities so far. And so I think that we have to be prepared for when it happens again, but we don't know what the future is going to be. I've also seen on the news where some municipalities have been lost incomes of $1 million a month from gaming. And the impact that gaming is going to have on communities and our nonprofits is huge. Just look at the CCSS. They're losing Thunderballs, which gave them $40,000 a year, plus their weekly bingo. So once they start up, they're going to have issues too. And so we need to be prepared for that type of thing. And we might be asked for assistance then. I don't know. But just to give everybody $37 a month off their taxes, I do not support it at all. So does somebody want to make a motion? Who would like to make a motion? Councillor Brown, you had your...
Gwen's got a question. It looks like.
Oh, okay. Can't hear you, Gwen.
It was a motion, but
Okay.
Councillor Brown can put it out.
Go
I
for
can.
it. You were there first.
Okay.
Go for it.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that all sorry, am I going to say this? Growth related, using taxes from growth.
That we put it in
to-
reserve.
That we put it into the, continue to put it into the emergency and public service reserve. Is that the right one? Public
Second,
safety
Yes.
reserve.
Okay, Councillor Brown?
second.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Councillor Kettler? Okay. Yes, it's carried. Yes, Michelle?
I just want to clarify, basically then the tax rate bylaw, that was brought to you at the April 27th meeting will come back to you on the May 11th for, reading and adoption. And then, at a different time, I can bring forward the growth as an amendment to the financial plan to put into the reserve as planned. Okay.
Yes. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
next we have question period. So please send questions by email to info@cumberland.ca using subject line question period. Note, please limit to questions only. Comments will not be read. So we're going to give a little bit of a delay here for any questions to come in.
We should have some background music that we play in the, maybe in the interim.
Well, no, I think Sean could provide us with the music.
Sean?
Councillor
What?
Sullivan.
Well, I'd have to go downstairs. I was just kidding. I'm at my kitchen table. What do you got, Rachel?
We've got no questions so far.
Oh,
Okay. So if anybody sends a question in, we will get it later on. We can get it later on and we can answer it at that point. Okay? The more we use this, the more prepared we're going to get. Okay? So now we need to go into closed portion.
I'll move that council close the meeting to public pursuant to section 90 of the community charter to consider labor relations or other employee relations, the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land or improvements, the receipt of advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose.
Seconder, Councillor Brown, all in favor? Carried. Motion to adjourn,
So moved.
Councillor Brown, second. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you shortly.
Cheers.